Hi, my name is Steve Snapp, and in this episode of Salesforce for Building Materials, we're going to go into a deeper dive on the second row of our dashboard. We've got a couple other videos where we do an overview of the entire dashboard, as well as a deep dive into each of the dashboard rows. The goal in doing that is to give not really a deep dive of the dashboard, just to give you a little bit better insight into what we're calculating in Salesforce with the project object. Before we get started, I want to mention that we have two links in the video description you should know about. I'll mention these again at the end of the video if you'd like to keep watching, but I wanted you to know that we've included a link to our pricing video where we share the pricing for Salesforce Construction, and we've also included a link to our guided free trial. The guided free trial will allow you to start using Salesforce Construction immediately in your business while providing a step-by-step learning path. So the first thing I want to mention, I always talk about this concept of the project object. And I'll just quickly glance on this. If you've seen any of our other videos, you probably have heard me talk about the project object too much. But the basic elements of the project record in Salesforce is an object that we created to solve a very specific problem for building material manufacturers, which is how do I capture all of the details associated with an actual project? How do I link all the people, architects, general contractors, quotes? How do I link all of that in one place and then allow myself to calculate various aspects of my pipeline off of that particular record? So that's what the project record is all about. So we've already talked about this projects by type row. Now we're going to scroll down and we're going to go into the project funnel. So this first chart is really designed to give us detail about our pipeline. And so you'll notice here that it's broken down into the stages of our sales funnel. So these stages are a field on the project object, and they're based on the standard fields within sort of the building materials space. Now they are configurable, so if you don't do conceptual design and you don't want to see that, then just get rid of it or change it. So you'll see here as I scroll over, these are just some of those standard stages that I'm sure you're very familiar with. And if you use slightly different ones, we modify those usually in the first day or two when you are participating in what we call a quick start. So the idea there is, we've got a great starting point, but you can obviously modify them considerably. Okay, what your project funnel is really telling you is how many dollars do you have at each stage, and you can highlight that particular stage. So in this example, by just mousing over the conceptual design stage, I see that I've got 145 million or trillion or whatever it is sitting in that particular funnel. So the point here is that as I scroll down, I have a general idea of what's in that particular tranche or segment of my funnel. Now, if I drill into this report, which I'll now do, it gives me detail about that funnel. So when I go into the funnel report, I can now go in and look at individual deals that are in that particular funnel. And the nice thing about this is there's a little toggle down here that allows me to turn on the details. So I can show the details or I can suppress the details. And you can set the default for that. Maybe when you go into the report, you want to see everything, or maybe when you go into the report, you want to see the summaries. The point there is that you can control that and you can set that. But once we're here, we can then go into specific projects. So when we talk more in other sections about managing risk, you can begin to then drill down into those segments of your pipeline that you might think are higher risk, and then drill down into those specific projects. And then from that, you can make decisions about how you want to allocate your team members or resources or leverage other relationships to maybe mitigate that risk. So I talk a lot about risk in this concept because we're always trying to validate what we have in our pipeline. And especially in the building material world, just because you get specified doesn't mean you get the order. So we don't want to lose sight of those projects as they move through the specification pipeline into the award cycle. And we talk a lot about that on this first chart, which is in that first video. Okay, so it's important for me to make a quick point because in the first video where I go into detail of this row, I introduced this concept of specification percentage and award percentage, and I go into detail on that in the other video, so I don't want to go too deep on that here, but I just want to mention that when we talk about specifiers, we're talking mostly about architects or engineers. Those are the people that have influence on, naming your product on the particular specification. So specification percentage means that I group my specifiers into a couple buckets. And the idea is, if I know that a project's been awarded to an architect and they award or they specify me on that, then I count that towards their specification percentage. The idea is that architects with higher specification percentages are more favorable to us than to our competitor. That means that when they win a project, they're going to specify us 75% of the time, or 50% of the time, or 0. So an architect that specifies us 0 has never specified us, even though they've been awarded. And so that usually means we've got a relationship there that we need to build, or it's just a new relationship. On the other hand, a specifier that's 75% means 3 out of 4 times when they are the architect on that project, they will specify us. Now, in some cases, that may not apply. You might be dealing with different architects on all these projects. But if you're dealing with the same architects over and over again, you can begin to calculate and measure how committed to you that particular specifier is. So the specification percentage calculates that. The award percentage does the same thing for a general contractor or a builder. So the idea here is higher percentage, more favorable, more friendly. So if you're getting specified on projects, but you're losing the order because the GC that's been awarded isn't favorable to you, you can see that and you can take steps to improve that relationship. So on this second row of the chart, architect activity status is showing us within the specification percentage categories how many architects are neglected or current or what we call at risk. So activity status is another layer that we lay on top of that. And the idea is that, and the threshold that I'm about to describe is completely defined by you, but you might say that we want to have contact with a 75% specifier every 30 days. And so if we haven't had a meaningful contact, and you can define what that means, or we can, if you haven't had meaningful contact, then in 30 days, they go from current to at risk, and then let's say at 60 days, they go to neglected. Now you can change that threshold based on their percentage or based on any criteria that you choose. The point though is that you can see now, I've got some 75 percenters here, people I really care about, and one of those or two of those are neglected, or one, excuse me. Now, by drilling into the report, I can see who's neglected, and then I can take steps to make sure that that architect isn't neglected. Same thing with the builder or the GC in this case. So the whole point is which builders really matter, and am I staying in front of those builders? Same idea. And you could argue that maybe you don't need to be Johnny on the spot with your 75 percenters. Maybe you've earned the right with them. Maybe you need to really focus on your 0 percenters. So that's something that you can kind of think about. The point is we've built a structure that allows you to do it, and then obviously how you use that. So that's a quick overview of the project funnel, the architect activity status, and the builder activity status. And we look forward to getting to know you better, and thank you for watching this. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I know your time is very limited. I've included 2 possible next steps in the video description. These include a link to our pricing video where we share the pricing for Salesforce Construction, and I've also included a link to our guided free trial. The guided free trial will allow you to start using Salesforce Construction immediately in your business while providing a step-by-step learning path. The guided free trial also introduces what we call the Guaranteed Quick Start, which is several pre-scheduled calls with our team to help make any light configuration changes like pick lists or reports, and also help you migrate any data that you want in your free trial. If you're not ready for those 2 choices, please spend some time here on our YouTube channel learning more about the specific problems we've solved for Salesforce Construction. Thank you again for some of your time, and we'll see you soon.